He's a good friend of the program and the right guy at the right time. He is Will Brinson. Will, what's going on? How are you?
Jim, what's going on, man? I'd like to thank a quick shout out to the Chiefs and the Dolphins for the timing of this trade and not feeding the content machine, pumping some coal in there.
That's what I'm talking about. Like, if it had not been crazy enough, I echo that. Yeah, thank you very much, everybody. If it weren't crazy enough, for those missing it, now it seems official. Will, Adam Schefter reporting, Kansas City is going to send Tyreek Hill to Miami for 5 draft picks, including the 29th and 50th this year, a 4th-round pick this year, and a 4th and a 6th next year. What is your reaction to that package and the deal itself?
Yeah, and also it's, reportedly Tyreek is going to get a 4-year, $120 million contract, which will make him the highest-paid wide receiver in football, leapfrogging Davante Adams. And really, Jim, I think that Adams contract, you can kind of trace this back to the DeAndre Hopkins contract, which paid him $27.5 million. It was an outlier from the rest of the market, and a lot of teams were treating it that way in negotiations. Certainly the Packers were, and Davante Adams, guys like Davante Adams and Tyreek Hill weren't willing to take less than what DeAndre Hopkins was making. So when the trade for Adams happened, and he makes $28 million, and then the Tyreek extension's going on, and he goes to the Chiefs and says, "Look, I'm not going to take less than what Davante Adams made. I think I'm the best wide receiver in football." The Chiefs didn't want to go above market, so they told Tyreek they didn't want to reset the market, actually. So they told Tyreek to look around for a trade option, and his agent, Drew Rosenhaus, found the Jets and the Dolphins, both interested, and both teams had deals on the table. I can't say whether or not the Chiefs, we don't know what the Jets deal was. Hopefully we find out, because I'm curious whether or not the Jets might have had a better offer, but the Chiefs did Tyreek a solid by sending him to Miami. My initial reaction is that the compensation is a little light, frankly, Jim. I mean, we're talking about the highest pick in there is the 29th overall pick. I mean, if I'm or 26th overall, maybe if I'm the Chiefs, I would have been looking for a higher pick than that, or maybe even a player back, because you got a 33-year-old Tyreek Hill. You don't exactly. I'm 33-year-old Travis Kelce. Excuse me. You've got Patrick Mahomes, and then you're kind of patchworking the offense around him after that. It's a little surprising what they got back.
We're talking to Will Brinson. Will, I agree with you. I thought they would get more back, and now the going rate for wide receivers is, like it or not, think it's fair or not, the going rate is $30 million per year. Kansas City obviously was not willing to go that high for him. Like, when you look at all the other teams in the AFC West, Will, and what they've done in the past few weeks in that arms race, how weird would it be if Kansas City's biggest move was to get rid of one of their biggest stars?
I mean, if you told me that, if you had told me like 3 weeks ago, Jim, that Russell Wilson and Davante Adams and Khalil Mack were coming in the AFC West and Tyreek Hill was going out, I would have asked you to produce evidence of this, or to take me to Vegas or maybe go buy some lottery tickets. I mean, that's like an impossible outcome. Those 4 storylines converging on this division, and it'll be really interesting to see how Las Vegas adjusts for this, because the Chiefs were already plus money, like plus 115, maybe even plus 130 at Caesars to win the division. I thought it was pretty good value. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if maybe even the Broncos leapfrogged them with the departure of Tyreek Hill. Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes can make up for a lot, but man, I mean, Tyreek Hill, you think about all these big explosive plays he's had in his career with the Chiefs. Without him, they don't win that Super Bowl. They were trailing to the Niners. Without the wasp sting play that Tyreek Hill makes happen, they don't win that. And you just have to wonder. I know the offense will still be good. Andy Reid and Mahomes, again, are fantastic. But, I mean, losing Tyreek Hill is a big, big loss. I mean, he's only 28 years old. I get not extending him, but man, I mean, that's a tough one for KC.
Hey, listen, I think, Will, they're still a very good, if not elite offense, but they are not the same offense without this guy. They just certainly are not. I mean, this field's got like some Randy Moss to New England type of feel in it to me. Like, you made this point on Twitter the other day that there was a time when Brandon Cooks and a trade of Cooks was considered a blockbuster. Now we can't go 24 hours without a Pro Bowler being moved. What changed? What's going on here?
Yeah, I remember. I'm trying to think. It was an in-season trade of Cooks And remember Coney Ely to the Patriots for like
Sure.
a late second rounder? I remember riding with my parents down to see my grandparents in Florida when that broke and like blogging on the fly. The difference is, I think it's two things, right? One is the salary cap has expanded substantially, and teams are no longer worried about the cap. They're willing to pay these guys, and they're willing to take on these salaries in a trade. The Dolphins, are willing to gamble and to try and get a guy like Tyreek Hill, even if it costs a ton of money. And then two, the draft pick, the willingness to part with draft picks, that mentality has changed a lot. We saw it with the Rams this year, and that's an extreme example where they're going all in. But these new era general managers, I think, tend to be a little less conservative about holding on to their draft picks, a little more willing to give away a first-round pick, even if it's especially a late first-rounder, in order to acquire a superstar.
Talking to Will Brinson, like F them picks, right? Less need, F them picks. Listen, what do you think Hill's fit in Miami might look and feel like, and what Mike McDaniel might do with him?
It's really interesting to think about an offense that features two backs, Chase Edmonds and Raheem Mostert, in that Mike McDaniel system. They just signed Teron Armstead, which is if he plays 17 games, that's a stud at left tackle. And then they have Hill and Waddle plus Mike Gesicki. Mike McDaniel's whole thing, coming up under Kyle Shanahan. He's I think the longest. He's the only assistant coach under Kyle Shanahan that has been at every stop with Kyle before he took this job in Miami. He was Kyle Shanahan's right-hand man, was his run game coordinator, and then his offensive coordinator. And, when you think about the approach that they'll take, it's going to be, just imagine, Deebo Samuel running in space, getting wide open passes from Jimmy Garoppolo, and then interchange that with Jalen Waddle and Tua throwing to Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill. If his offense can work the same way that a Shanahan offense works, and we have no reason to think it won't, this is going to feature Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill getting the ball in wide open space, and nobody gets more yak than the 49ers, and that should be a staple of the Dolphins with two very explosive playmakers.
It will. I love McDaniel. I cannot wait to see what that offense looks like there, and especially with the weapons he has, like you just mentioned. What do you personally think of Tua at this point?
I'm still a little skeptical of him. I think that's fair. The deep ball. The rumor with the thought process with the Jets going to get Tyreek was that he would accentuate what Zach Wilson does best with the deep ball. I think with the Dolphins, it's the opposite. I think they are going to want to get, you're running crossers, put Tyreek in bubble screens, accentuate what Tua does best, which is smart decision-making, quick decision-making, and short yardage, maybe some intermediate throws. He can throw the deep ball. It's just not his specialty yet. And I still wonder, Jim, if, you just think about the motions of a quarterback and really any athlete, right? Golf, tennis, whatever it is. If you got a hip injury, that's something that can linger. And I do sort of wonder if, going into his rookie season, he's dealing with that. He's dealing with adjusting to the NFL, which is different even for Alabama players, and he's dealing with Brian Flores yanking him in and out of the starting lineup. And so maybe this is sort of a third-year breakout, post-hype situation for Tua where he's under the radar, but he's got a quarterback, he's got a coach who's committed to him now, and he's got these weapons. I am still on the fence with Tua, but if you're going to be bullish on the guy, now's a good time to be there.
Yeah, but at the same time, I think that your skepticism and what you said formerly is certainly fair. And you can't help but wonder if they're wondering or thinking about maybe what would have happened if we pulled that Justin Herbert card instead. And really quickly, what about if this traces back to Davante Adams and that contract? Adams was saying in his introductory presser that going to the Raiders was a dream come true. I understand that. He grew up in California. He's got a connection to the Raiders. Obviously, he played college ball with Derek Carr. How much of this, in your mind, Will, is about chasing a dream, and how much of this is about wanting to just bust out of Green Bay?
Yeah, I think he talked about it last year with Derek Carr. He described Derek Carr as one of his best friends, and they stay in touch. I do think that that's a legitimate part of it, and I believe that that he wanted to play with Carr and was really excited about doing that. And, getting $28 million a year probably doesn't help. Also, though, like, he had to be thinking, am I going to tie myself to this franchise that just tagged me, even though they knew I didn't want to do it, that just has had this acrimonious, battle between Aaron Rodgers over the last 3 years, and is probably not going to feature Aaron Rodgers in 2 years, whereas the length of his contract, you have to think Derek Carr will be playing throughout that, which is, potentially more appealing than being in Green Bay with whatever Jordan Love ends up becoming in 2 years.
He is a CBS Sports senior writer. He is host of the Pick Six podcast. You want to make sure you listen to that, and a very, very good friend of the program. He is Will Brinson. Will, way to be quick on your feet, man. Great job. Appreciate you very much. Thanks so much for doing it.
Anytime, Jim. Have a great day, man.
You too, Will Brinson.